The sun dipped low over the horizon, casting long shadows across the quiet towns of the Triad region. It was a calm evening, the kind that lulled many into a false sense of security. But nature, as always, had other plans. Without warning, a strong line of storms surged through the area, bringing with it relentless rain, howling winds, and hailstones pounding like drumbeats against rooftops. What began as a gentle drizzle quickly transformed into a furious assault, catching residents off guard. At the WFMI News 2 office in Greensboro, the staff heard the relentless thumping of hail, some pieces larger than golf balls, striking the building with shocking force. One viewer described the hailstorm as one of the craziest they had ever witnessed, as shards of ice shattered windows and coated streets in a blinding white. The sky darkened ominously as the National Weather Service escalated warnings from severe thunderstorm alerts to tornado watches, signaling the rising threat. In a matter of hours, communities braced for what seemed like an unending barrage of nature's fury. But this was just the beginning. This storm was part of a massive low-pressure system that had already unleashed devastation from Texas to Alabama. Fierce winds fanned wildfires in Oklahoma and Texas, while tornadoes, some packing winds nearing 200 miles per hour, tore through towns in Alabama, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, and Mississippi. Homes were ripped apart, lives shattered, and the landscape forever altered. Meteorologists explained that this violent weather was fueled by a brutal collision of cold and warm air masses, a phenomenon not uncommon during the shift into spring, but increasingly dangerous. It was a volatile mix that birthed destructive tornadoes and thunderous hail, turning peaceful neighborhoods into battlegrounds of survival. As night fell, the full scale of the storm's wrath became clear. Reports streamed in of EF3 and EF2 tornadoes leaving trails of destruction. In Arkansas, 2 EF4 tornadoes, the first of their kind in the region since 2021, ripped through communities near Little Rock, flattening homes and uprooting lives. The National Weather Service's damage surveys painted a grim picture: shattered windows, collapsed buildings, and roads transformed into rivers of debris. Amid the chaos, the president took to social media, assuring the nation that federal resources were poised to assist affected states. The gravity of the situation was undeniable, but so was the resolve to confront it head-on. Tonight, as the winds howl and the skies rage, the Triad region and beyond face a test of resilience against an unforgiving force. This is not just a storm. It is a powerful reminder of nature's unpredictability and the fragile line between calm and catastrophe. Stay with us as we unfold the full story of the wrath that swept across America's heartland, a tale of destruction, survival, and the indomitable human spirit rising amid the storm. As dawn broke over the battered landscapes of the South and Midwest, the aftermath of Sunday's violent storms began to reveal the true extent of nature's relentless assault. Streets once lined with families and bustling markets now lay strewn with shattered glass, twisted metal, and uprooted trees. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and smoke, a haunting reminder of the wildfires ignited by the same weather system. In Louisiana, communities grappled with the devastation left by multiple tornado touchdowns. Near Kentwood, an EF3 tornado carved a path of destruction with winds reaching up to 165 miles per hour, tearing roofs from homes and tossing vehicles like toys. A little over an hour later, another EF2 tornado struck Tylertown, Mississippi, its fury barely abating. Meanwhile, smaller but still deadly EF1 tornadoes touched down in Vermont and Chickasaw, leaving a trail of damaged homes and frightened residents. The people caught in the storm's path recounted moments of sheer terror, the sky darkening to an unnatural shade, the earth trembling beneath their feet, and the deafening roar of the twisters swallowing all else. Emergency crews raced against time, navigating flooded roads and collapsed power lines to reach those trapped and injured. Every call for help was met with urgency, every life hanging in precarious balance. In Arkansas, the twin EF4 tornadoes were a devastating shock. With winds up to 190 miles per hour, the storms obliterated entire neighborhoods near Little Rock. These were the strongest tornadoes to strike the area in years, leaving communities reeling and rescue operations scrambling to keep pace. Homes that once stood proudly were reduced to rubble, and survivors faced the grim reality of rebuilding from the ground up. Firefighters and emergency responders also battled wildfires whipped into a frenzy by fierce winds. In Oklahoma and Texas, acres of land were consumed by flames, threatening homes and forcing evacuations. The combination of extreme weather events stretched resources thin and tested the limits of emergency preparedness. As federal and state officials coordinated relief efforts, residents found solace in community resilience. Neighbors helped neighbors, sharing food, shelter, and hope amid the ruins. Yet the storm's impact went beyond physical damage. It left deep emotional scars and a stark reminder of nature's unpredictable power. Meteorologists warned that this violent season might just be the beginning. Climate scientists pointed to warming temperatures and shifting atmospheric patterns as fueling more frequent and intense storms across the nation. The storms that pummeled the Triad and beyond were a vivid illustration of a changing climate, forcing communities to reconsider how they prepare and respond. In the wake of destruction, conversations turned toward resilience and adaptation. Experts emphasized the urgent need for improved infrastructure, advanced warning systems, and public education to mitigate the growing risks. The storm's legacy was clear, a call to action against an increasingly volatile climate. As the region begins the long process of recovery, the story of survival, loss, and hope unfolds, painting a portrait of a nation tested by nature's wrath but unwilling to be broken. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the storm's impact and the human stories behind the headlines. The skies had barely cleared when another ominous warning flashed across weather screens. A new system was gathering strength on the horizon. The relentless rhythm of storms showed no sign of relenting, as communities still reeling from the previous night's chaos braced for yet another onslaught. The Midwest and South were caught in a volatile dance of clashing air masses, cold, dry fronts barreling in from the north, colliding violently with warm, moist air rising from the Gulf. This volatile mix brewed the perfect storm, ripe for thunder, hail, and even tornadoes. Across towns like Greensboro and High Point, eyewitnesses described a surreal scene as heavy hail pummeled roofs and shattered windows. Some hailstones were as large as golf balls, smashing through glass and leaving streets coated in white like a strange, chilling snow. The suddenness and ferocity caught many off guard, turning everyday neighborhoods into battlegrounds overnight. Families scrambled to protect their homes, but the raw power of nature often left them powerless. Meteorologists warned that this was just the beginning. The unstable air mass was expected to roll eastward, pushing dangerous weather through the Appalachians and along the dense northeast coast. Rain-soaked streets would soon give way to lightning-lit skies and the howling winds of possible tornadoes. Emergency services were on high alert, ready to respond to the inevitable cries for help. Meanwhile, on the opposite coast, the Pacific unleashed its own fury. Northern California braced for heavy snowfall, up to 4 feet in some mountain regions, and hurricane-force winds threatened to tear through the Sierra Nevada. Flood warnings were issued as rain drenched the San Francisco Bay Area, threatening to overwhelm drainage systems already strained by recent storms. The contrast was stark. While the east grappled with fierce tornadoes and hail, the west prepared for a winter storm's icy grip. In the heartland, wildfire risk surged as the dry air and gusty winds combined in a dangerous recipe. States like Oklahoma and Texas, still smoldering from recent fires, faced the terrifying prospect of flare-ups as the weather shifted unpredictably. Firefighters worked around the clock, their bravery matched only by the merciless forces they confronted. Amid the chaos, a pattern emerged, one of growing volatility and intensity. Scientists and experts linked the severe weather to broader climate shifts, rising global temperatures, changing jet streams, and increasingly erratic seasonal cycles. These storms were not just isolated events, but symptoms of a planet in flux, pushing humanity to confront the new reality of extreme weather. Communities, battered yet resilient, began to share stories of survival and solidarity. In the midst of shattered windows and flooded streets, neighbors became lifelines, joining hands to clear debris, deliver supplies, and comfort those who had lost everything. Emergency shelters filled with displaced families, and volunteers poured in from neighboring towns to assist in recovery efforts. This relentless storm season was more than a test of infrastructure. It was a challenge to the human spirit. The coming days promised more battles with the elements, as forecasters tracked the next fronts and the threat of further tornadoes loomed large. Yet, within the storm's fury, stories of courage, compassion, and unyielding determination shone through. Join us as we continue to explore the unfolding drama of this storm-ravaged landscape, where every cloud tells a story, and every drop of rain carries the weight of survival.